Now invite a person we have to thank for Chief Judge Wilson's appointment, our Governor, Kathy Hochul, someone who well understands the challenges of being the first and the glory of being the first, to share her comments on Chief Judge Wilson and today's ceremony. Governor.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Rivera, for reminding us of not just the solemnity of this occasion, but the historic nature of this occasion. And I truly appreciate your ability to remind us in a visual way to look at these portraits. It reminds me of walking down the Hall of Governors, in fact. But we are here to not just make history, but to start a new era, begin a new era for the state of New York, one that does reflect our values as a people. And so it is a great privilege for me to preside over, in my 2 years as governor, my third investiture. So I feel a little bit of responsibility for espousing a certain individual I'm looking for in terms of legal character, personal character, ability, but also to remind the rest of New York that we have a court that looks like the rest of New York. And that is an important statement of my priorities as governor, but also a tribute to all the individuals who are joined with us here today. And I do thank you, Judge Rivera, Michael Garcia, Madeline Singas, Anthony Canataro, Shirley Troutman, Caitlin Halligan, and all those who've served in the past. I understand that there is a strong mentorship program, even if informal, where those who've been there before have adopted and are holding the hands and helping our newer members. And as the person who appointed the newer members, I'm grateful for you using your talents as well. The many elected officials in this room, I want to recognize them. My partners in the Senate, an important role in this process as well. Senator, Deputy Majority Leader Mike Gianaris, and Chairman of Judiciary Brad Hoylman Siegel. I want to thank them for their presence here today. Our Assembly member, also Liz Fine. I could not find a finer judge, selector than Liz Fine, who helps me identify the very best. And to my entire team who's worked so hard, and Barbara Underwood. Anytime we have a case in your hands, I feel very confident of the outcome, so thank you for your leadership in such an important role as well. And our Mayor, Kathy Sheehan, great to see her at so many events, are reminding us of the connectivity of us to this great city as well. And to the family. We know what our families go through when we put our heads up into public service, whether it's in the judiciary or legislative or executive branches, and they're the ones who sometimes suffer the slings and arrows. And so to Grace, I thank you for being a bulwark of the family, having to endure the other additional stress of seeing a loved one go through the trials and tribulations of a process. And to the daughters who are here, I know we have 2 out of 3, I believe. One's on the way. We'll get to her when she gets here, but I want to thank Isabel, Anna, and Eleanor, and your brother for joining us as well. So the most important responsibility of a judge, I'm finding, is the ability to nominate who sits in these seats. It's critical. It can change the trajectory of not just the body of jurisprudence, but also the path we're on as a state. Because New York State has always had that reputation of leading, not just in what we do legislatively and executive, but also people look to our decisions. And that's something I'm very proud of. But I knew it conveys a certain responsibility on me to select the very best, the very brightest, and those who've had the life experiences to be able to relate to those who come before with a sense of not just knowledge of the law, but also empathy, which is a value I put a great deal of faith in. So having an individual who meets all my high standards, and I assure you they're very high, sitting here today, but also the path that he has taken throughout life, overcoming adversity in his own life, will make him be that person who has that sympathetic ear. Now, I would say it should not have taken over 176 years to get to a point where we have a person of color sitting in this seat. but this is the path we're on, and we're making progress, and I want New Yorkers to know that. So this is a milestone. But that is not why he is sitting here today. That is not why he was selected. He has demonstrated through his years already on this court the intellect, the understanding, the ability to write in such a powerful way and to really make decisions that matter. So I thank him for his service to this point and demonstrating to me that you were prepared to ascend to this next level. I said I wanted someone that had intelligence and conviction, someone who could unite this existing court that's so important to me, so critically important, that we have a team here that works together, respects each other, elevates each other, listens to each other intently behind closed doors, but comes out here with, as often as possible, a united front to convey the confidence that people have in the decisions. That was important to me. And I also take note of the fact that as our nation's Supreme Court continues sliding backwards, stripping away rights that we took for granted throughout most of our lives, we also have the bulwarks of defense in our states. That's not just what we do with the legislature in my role, it's also we look to the courts. And as the Supreme Court swerves down this path they're on, and God knows where it'll end up, taking away women's right to choose, taking away my ability as governor to protect people from concealed guns, you name it, they've been there. I needed someone that could be held in such high regard that when he spoke, rendered decisions, represented this court and representing the state, that he'd speak with authority and people would understand, no, this is New York. We do things differently here. So the thought, the care, the brilliance you bring to your decisions, Judge Rowan, are why you're sitting here. And you've proven yourself time and time again. And when we first had a chance to get to know each other, you spoke about your family's influence on you. Your father was a teacher, your mother very well educated, couldn't find a job because she was blind. You talked about going to the grocery store with her and helping her pick out food from the shelves because she couldn't read the labels as a child. You had to become the adult so early in life. And it also taught you that people who have disabilities and have other challenges, they have the same rights as everyone else. And they need to be enshrined in our laws for those who don't understand that those rights are part of who we are as a people. So you were driven, motivated, found yourself at Harvard Law School, clerking for a judge, Judge Browning. If you know who Judge Browning is, the picture of John F. Kennedy's inauguration, that was a Judge Browning holding the Bible for the president. And you came to New York becoming one of the youngest and one of the first people of color at your law firm, a very prestigious firm, but you didn't say, I'm going to end my career making a lot of money. You decided to make a lot of difference. And that's how you found your path in public service and to this bench. And throughout your career that you've demonstrated, you will fight for those rights of people, those who are counting on us to do the right thing. And I also think back about some of our forefathers, again, they're mostly fathers. One of my predecessors as governor, John Jay, the founding father of our country, one of our founding fathers, first Justice Supreme Court, and had been governor. You think about the legacy, the stories of the past. But I'm focused on the stories of the future about what they'll say about our time, the people in these positions, the decisions they rendered to move our state forward, adhering to our legacy of progress, moving people forward. So I think about this courthouse, think about the people on the wall, I think about the people I'm sitting with here, and I feel confident. I truly do. I feel confident that we'll be able to restore people's faith in government, something we all have an obligation to do, restore faith in this bench, and restore confidence that this court will always do the right thing. And we've always done the right thing. Go back to 1860. This court ordered the release of 8 slaves who were traveling through New York, a free state, despite the Dred Scott decision. New York State did that. We said, no, we don't agree. We're freeing these people. In 1904, the court upheld the right of the legislature to regulate dangerous working conditions. Supreme Court overturned this in Lochner, one of the worst decisions of the 20th century when it comes to the rights of working men and women. But we stood up. We did the right thing. That's what we do. So as I administer this oath of office today, it's not just to preside over this bench, it is also to oversee the entire court system. And with Judge Zayas and others who are truly committed individuals, we must make a difference. We have to start freeing up our courtrooms, taking in cases, expediting, because we have delayed justice for far too long. Our family court system needs attention. We need to take care of people when they're suffering the most. And that's the power that you also have, Judge Rowan, and I'm counting on that to change. And that's how we make people feel they have value again. Take care of them when they're at their greatest need. So I have confidence that Judge Wilson will strengthen this court, our justice system, and the public. And I'll simply say one more thing before we administer that important oath. Judge Linwood Smith wrote a letter in support of your nomination. He wrote that your work exemplified the very principles that undergird the legal profession, and that you are every inch the equal of one of the most influential judges we've ever had, Benjamin Cardozo. I consider that high praise. And I do believe that in the future, people will be quoting what you do with reverence to future nominees, decades, if not a century from now. That's how confident I am in this individual. And as we begin this oath, no oath carries greater weight than the one we'll uphold here today, upholding the Constitution of our state and our nation. Those words mean something, particularly at a time when our country has been under attack, literally, physically. We're here to defend it. We defend it in rooms like this, all over America. And I am so proud to be associated with this state, this court, and this new chief judge as I administer the oath. Let's begin.
So it's now time for the oath. Grace, if you would join us at the bench.
Place your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rowan D. Wilson,
I, Rowan D. Wilson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I'll fully discharge the duties
and that I will fully discharge the duties
of the office of Chief Judge of the New York State Court of Appeals
of the office of Chief Judge of the New York State Court of Appeals
and the Chief Judge of the State of New York
and the Chief Judge of the State of New York,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Judge. Chairs have returned. Thank you.
Well, for future reference, if you have to sit in a
room of very impressive people, a very impressive room, very impressive, full of very impressive people, and you have very impressive people saying extremely kind, flattering, over-the-top things about you, it really helps to have children. And put them in the front row, because you can see that one of them is chuckling and the other is yawning. And it really takes you down several pegs. Thanks to all of you for being here. Thanks to Judge Rivera for those unbelievably kind and effusive remarks. Thanks to Governor Hochul, who hit really, I'm not even thinking about the things that she said about me, but the things that she said about the state of New York and what we are, who we are, what we want to be, and what we can do, those hit exactly the right note. I could not have put those words any better if I'd spent hours and hours and hours trying to write them. That is what this state, this court, the legislature, the governor's office, the executive branch is all about. And it's at a time when it is most important. So I thank the governor for those remarks, and she can be sure that I and the members of this court are fully on board. So I joined the Court of Appeals about 6.5 years ago. Before that, I was a practicing lawyer for 30 years, and before that, a judicial law clerk for a couple of years. And I had no experience at being a judge at all at any level. And as I said in my investiture remarks in 2017, everything seemed like a wonderland to me. It still does, and in preparing these remarks, I thought it would be a good time to reflect backwards and to look forwards. My investiture remarks in 2017 were framed as guidance for our 3 daughters, Isabel, Anna, and Eleanor, but they were equally meant as a reminder for myself. In my remarks, I made 3 basic points. First, moving into unfamiliar territory, whether a different job, a different school, or a different home, does not require a loss of the familiar, but rather presents an opportunity for growth, for challenging and re-energizing yourself, and for making new friends without losing old ones. Second, those sorts of changes could be unsettling, and therefore it would be useful to have what the White Queen in Alice in Wonderland called forward memory, which is really clairvoyance, allowing you to see what would happen in the future. With that power, you could be assured ahead of time that you would meet the unfamiliar challenges ahead. Third, it is vital that you not confuse having an important job with being an important person. If you have an important job and think of yourself as important, you will not perform your job well. I was curious to conduct a self-evaluation to see how I'd measured up against that guidance over the past 6 years, and also to see how that guidance itself had measured up. And I've spent the last few weeks thinking about that and wondering about it, and I have some observations that I would share with you today. From my own vantage point, the change from lawyer to judge brought just what I'd hoped for: new challenges, the opportunity to learn, to contribute to society in a different way, to make new friends without losing old ones. From the vantage point of a couple of people whose judgment I respect, they thought I was taking a little time to transition from being an advocate to being a judge. I hope that I've reconciled that by imagining myself as having the role of an advocate for the law and as an advocate for the people of New York. In 2017, when I predicted, using my forward memory, that many of the people in the audience whom I did not know would become friends, I was absolutely right. There are now so many of you here, and I couldn't be luckier or happier about that. But old, and by old I mean long-standing friends, are here too. Professor Allison Rentelm and I have been friends since we were both 11 years old. My college roommates Tom Brown and Charles Kimball are here also. Tom Rafferty and Rich Edlin, very close friends, first friends I made really in New York when I came here, were also here. Evan Chesler sitting on the end there, the former chairman of my law firm, Cravath, and now the president of the Board of Trustees of New York University, formerly chair of the board of the New York Public Library, took me under his wing when I was brand new and taught me most everything that I know, and all the things I do wrong, I can't blame him for. My brother-in-law Dean, sister-in-law Ginny, who are also here, have been my friends for decades. Dean, by the way, gave me a bit of advice that I've unwittingly followed, just sort of accidentally, which I'll now pass on to you, which is the best time to look for a new job is when you have a job. And even though I've been at my new job for only the past 5 months, I consider Deputy Chief Administrative Judge Joseph Zayas my friend. The same is true for Deputy Chief Administrative Judge St. George, Deputy Chief Administrative Judge Richardson Mendelson, and also Deputy Chief Administrative Judge Kaplan. And using my forward memory, I can see the same will be true of Deputy Chief Administrative Judge James Murphy, who couldn't be here today, but sent me he contracted COVID. He's getting over it. That's why he's not here. My new role has also given me the chance to meet people and make friends all throughout the system, not just judges, but many, many others as well. And I value all of them. But along with my new friendships, my new role has brought a host of new challenges, challenges of a very different nature than studying the law, the facts, and the arguments, and then working with my colleagues on the court towards a resolution. The provision of equal justice to all depends just as much on the proper operation of the court system as it does on the proper operation of the law. The change in my role is energizing, is challenging, and is an opportunity to grow and learn, and sometimes is unsettling enough that a bit of forward memory might provide a welcome dose of reassurance. Forward memory really would have been handy in February of 2020, not because I would have been able to foresee the pandemic, but because it would have saved me a great deal of embarrassment. In February of 2020, the Albany County Bar Association held its 125th annual Court of Appeals dinner, at which a Court of Appeals judge is required to speak, and it was my turn to deliver the evening's address. And for it, some of you were there, for it I created and displayed a bunch of real products that could be sold at a Court of Appeals gift shop. Included among them was a Magic 7 ball, because there's 7 of us, that just like the Magic 8 ball has 20 different ways of telling you that you would not be granted leave to appeal. I also created a lot of these tins of court reorganizing constitutional amendments, which would freshen your breath and the courts. If I had possessed forward memory, I would have seen that those products would be completely unmarketable today. The only product that I created by sheer happenstance that would have been a huge success, and that's because of the wild popularity of the Barbie movie, is the Ken-sized Judge Garcia action figure. He swiped it while I was speaking. I'm sure he still has it. Despite the embarrassment it would have saved me, forward memory, I have concluded, would not be such a great thing to possess. When I was confirmed by the Senate in 2017, Judge Abdus Salam called me to tell me that she'd never had a little brother and was looking forward to being my big sister. I told her I'd never had a big sister and couldn't wait to have one. 2 months later, she was gone. I'm glad that I had no forward memory. Ignorance for those 2 months truly was bliss. I also cherished my time on the court with Judge Feinman, who, like Judge Abdus Salam, was a wonderful, experienced jurist who gave sage advice and who left us much too soon. Thinking about them in the context of forward memory did remind me of one more product that I made for the Albany Bar event, the deck of Cardozos. Now, I realize it's a cheap pun to have a deck of cards with Benjamin Cardozo's photo on the back of all of them. They're pretty high-quality cards, though. But it turns out that the words that I chose to put on the side of the box, the quest is greater than what is seen, explains why we should all be glad to live in the present, with the future unknown and the challenges ahead of us. The full quotation from Judge Cardozo is, "In the end, the great truth will have been learned that the quest is greater than what is sought. The effort is finer than the prize, or rather, that the effort is the prize. The victory, cheap and hollow, were it not for the rigor of the game." But for the pun, I never would have thought to put those words on the side of the deck of cards, but it serves to remind me that the quest, like card games, is a mix of skill and luck. That carries me right to my third point. Thanks to the Commission on Judicial Nomination, to Governor Hochul, and the New York State Senate, I now have an even more important job, really two different but interrelated important jobs. And by more important, I mean only that they come with greater responsibilities. Although the job is more important, I'm still not an important person. And if I start thinking of myself as an important person, I will not do my job well. During the past 5 months that I've held both jobs, I've come to understand that there is a fundamental corollary to my third point. The more important your job is, the less able you are to do it alone. When I was a brand new lawyer, I could do my work without much help. As my responsibilities grew, I had to depend more on help from others. As an associate judge of the Court of Appeals, I could not have done my job without the tremendous assistance from my colleagues, my truly brilliant and hardworking law clerks, my assistant Patricia, the Court of Appeals staff, and my family. But my new position is even more demanding and requires more help. So for any of you here in this magnificent courtroom or watching the live stream who attended to see an important person, I'm sorry to disappoint you. For those who attended because the job is important, know that I need your help. Or more accurately, the unified court system needs your help. And that allows me to wrap my 3 points together. The challenges ahead are great and present great opportunity. The quest to achieve the best possible judicial system must be our focus, and that quest will fail without the help of you, my friends and friends-to-be, who truly are friends of New York and its courts. That help, by the way, includes disagreements, criticism, and identification of problems. We cannot fix what we do not know needs repair, and we will not always identify on our own the best tools. As to friendship and help, let me add 3 last points. To Governor Hochul and the executive branch, and to the members of our state legislature, I can assure you that checks and balances means independence, not adversariness. And my team and I look forward to working with you collaboratively to improve the lives of all New Yorkers. To my colleagues, Judges Rivera, Garcia, Singas, Canataro, Troutman, and Halligan, I have enjoyed every moment of working with you, knowing that whether we agree or disagree, we are always trying as best as we are able to decide the law properly within the role of and consistent with the tradition of our great court. And to my wife, Grace, I adore you beyond words. I would be completely lost without you. And I know, and I am sorry, that you bear a huge, publicly unseen burden for my new responsibilities. Once again, using my forward memory, I can assure you, Grace, that our joint contribution to the quest for justice will end in another 7 years, 3 months, and 19 days. After which we will continue to enjoy a full, joyous, loving life together, which will be much more relaxing. And to my daughters, who still do not come to dinner when called, there is food waiting across the street, even better this time, thanks to the culinary talents of Cafe Capriccio and Jim Rua, its owner. Thank you all very much for being here. The most important thing is we need your help. We all need to pull in the same direction, and I think we all know what that direction is. Thank you all very much.